Senator Markey.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, very much. Good to see you again, Mr. Beckerman. Remember you well from being the Republican counsel on the Energy and Commerce Committee for all of these issues, and it's it's to me the most important innovative technology of our lifetimes. And when a kid from Holliston, Massachusetts can come up with an idea like Instagram and then sell it to a dropout from Harvard for $1 billion, there's a good thing going here on the internet. And we don't want to jeopardize it. We want to protect it. And there are so many telecommunications giants combined with the Chamber of Commerce, combined with human rights organizations that have supported the domain name transition. From your perspective, Mr. Beckerman, how will the transition benefit American businesses?
Thank you, Senator. It's good to see you as well. I think part of the reason why this transition is important and is an improvement over the status quo is that, directly to your point, it's giving the interests that have the most at stake, businesses, large and small, medium-sized businesses, technologists, civil society, and even internet users, the stake that they need to make sure that the system continues and that we can have future Instagrams and future Facebooks and everything else around the world, and not have other interests take over and block the innovation that you've seen so closely there in Massachusetts.
Thank you. Mr. Del Bianco, how does it help
Two ways.
the business community?
Two ways. The business community, under the new bylaws, can participate in challenging board decisions against a tightly constrained set of bylaws. We've never had the ability to do a community-based challenge that we could enforce in the courts. The second is that it's not so much about sending a message or appeasement or sending a signal as much as it is about removing the target. By the U.S. obliterating the role of one government holding the IANA contract, that ceases to become the thing that the UN covets to take over.
Ambassador Gross, we know that an alternative to the multi-stakeholder model are plans proposed by a number of countries, including China and Russia, who are suggesting measures that strike at the core of what makes the internet great. Can you provide us with some specific examples of what Russia and China are proposing as an alternative to the structure that we're discussing today?
Yes, thank you very much, Senator. Those countries, and I would say with Russia in the lead here on this particular issue, would seek to enhance the role of the UN and in particular the ITU to be the primary place for the discussion and resolution of internet-related issues and to regulate aspects of the internet. I would note that right after, as I mentioned earlier, right after the Marrakesh meeting of ICANN, when all of this came together, not more than a month later, the foreign ministers of Russia, China, and India met in Moscow and issued a communique. And they said explicitly that the need to internationalize internet governance and to enhance in this regard the role of the International Telecommunications Union. Based on my experience, I believe foreign ministers when they tell me that they're going to do something I don't like.
And why would that not be as good, putting it at the ITU as opposed to under the framework which we're discussing today?
There are many reasons, but at the core it is that the ITU, which is an incredibly important organization for the United States and for the world, is a multilateral organization, not a multi-stakeholder organization. It does not give the same rights to the technical community, to civil society, to private sector, and to others. And so it would be a one-size-fits-all type of organization that would not allow for diverse voices and the innovation that has been the hallmark of the internet.
Yeah, so since Tim Berners-Lee invented the World Wide Web in Bern, Switzerland, and now operates the World Wide Web Consortium out of MIT to have this international governance, openness, architecture model, there's been kind of a multi-constituency way in which the internet has been governed, operated. And so that's a very important set of principles that I think we want to understand. And if it moves over to the International Telecommunications Union, it moves over to a different model altogether that ultimately could be much more dangerous and put much more control in the hands of foreign ministers and defense ministers in terms of the decision-making, rather than this broad-based internet constituency that has developed over the last 25 years across the planet. So we thank you, Ambassador Gross, and we thank all of you for being here today.